means he can run over my feet and it doesn't hurt. Like Jay said, my name is Katie Sullivan. I am a bilateral above-knee amputee. Well, technically not an amputee. It was congenital. My mom had a perfectly normal pregnancy. There didn't seem to be anything. She's in labor. She gets to the hospital, and one of the doctors is like, uh-oh, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're in the hospital. And they knocked her out, poor lady. And she woke up in recovery, and my dad was there, and he said, everything's okay. And she said, where's the baby? And he said, she's fine. She's perfectly healthy. She was just born without the bottom halves of her legs. And my mother's response was, that's all? Bring me my kid. So I had the tremendous fortune to be born to a set of parents who didn't see my physical circumstance as something that was bad or wrong or something to be ashamed of. It was just what was. And we had to get on with things. I have 3 older siblings. They all have all of their fingers, toes, arms, legs. They are jerks. No, they're fabulous people. And they really treated me like just one of the group. I was just part of the pack. And I was not singled out. I was not treated like I was made of glass. And it really helped me develop a sense of confidence and develop a sense of pride in myself. And I was able to do the things that my siblings were doing. Everything my siblings did, I wanted to be a part of and do and try. So, you know, as time went on, things I tried to. My sister was a great swimmer. Wanted to be a swimmer. Not so fast without legs. She was in gymnastics. I wanted to do gymnastics. Did you do gymnastics as children ever? Anybody? You know, back handspring. To get to the next level, I'm not going to do a back handspring. To get to the next level, you had to do a back handspring where you throw yourself backwards, land on your hands, and then land on your feet again. If anybody knows how to do that without calves, see me afterwards, because I still haven't figured it out. But I started getting really sort of frustrated with sports, and it was not something that I really was able to excel in or at. And so I moved on. And it was interesting because there was a doctor when I was a little kid that said to my mom, the world doesn't need another athlete, but she'll find other things that she's good at, which was really true for a very long time. Growing up with a significant physical disability to the outer world, I really started to realize there were lots of challenges in life, and things started really coming up for me that I wouldn't necessarily think of right off the bat. But body image was huge. It was a really huge challenge for me growing up because I just wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted for the minute you notice boys, you want boys to notice you because you're beautiful, not because you have metal sticks for legs. Although that might be cool. My parents also really encouraged me to have a sense of humor about my situation. So answering questions became sort of my favorite thing to do. Kids will come up to you faster than adults will, especially on the playground. My parents could not keep prosthetic legs on me when I was a child because I was so much faster and more agile with them off. And so kids would come up to me on the playground and say, "What happened to you?" Because whatever it was, I don't want to do it. That's what they were thinking. And my favorite thing to say was, "Shark attack," which is so much more interesting and dramatic than "I was born without my legs." It wasn't a big deal. As I have grown older and I am more sensitive, I try to live a little bit more authentically than that. And I realized that I actually have met people who've been attacked by sharks, and that actually does happen, so it's not a very nice thing to say. But it's interesting because this little girl in this picture, I remember taking this picture, and I would laugh at my situation, and I did want to sort of make light of my circumstances. But there were times when I remember having this picture taken. I was probably 6 years old. And I went there. I specifically wore my blue polka dot dress. And I made sure to cover my legs. And then I clenched my butt cheeks really tight so it looked like I was sitting on my feet, like my knees were bent underneath me. So even at that young of an age, I was trying to, I call it the art of blending in. I just wanted to be like everybody else. And at this point, I really wish I could go back in time and talk to that little girl and just be like, it's going to be okay. And the things that make you different are the things that make you special. And you're going to realize that one day. And I did. The other thing that ended up being a challenge for me was just getting around. I don't know if any of you guys really can kind of understand the concept. Maybe women in really, really high shoes, high heels. But you walk out of a PT gym, you walk out of a prosthetic office with the safe parallel bars, you walk out the curb out in front of the building, you walk to the edge of it, it might as well be the Grand Canyon. That first step you take on, now it's when something is new, if we change parts. I'm like a Mr. Potato Head. So if I get my parts changed, then I end up having to have this adjustment period. And it's tough. There's definitely a learning curve to any time you change something physically. I realized very early on that the world is not flat. There are stairs, there's mountains, there's hills. All of these things were, at a time in my life, they were really hard to deal with and frustrating. The way that technology has changed, and I am now wearing microprocessor knees that, you know, monitor what I'm doing 50 times a second, and they do my taxes. They don't do my taxes. I wish they did my taxes. These things have become less scary. You know, you know what, if I showed up at this staircase, yeah, sure, I could do the stairs with you. This hill, I mean, yeah, we could talk about it. It probably would take me a little while. I still have no interest in this whatsoever, and that is not me in this picture. But there are people that is their goal. There are lots of amputees. There's a particular guy that I know that he has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and he's a bilateral above-knee amputee. So I try to tell people, it took him 18 days, but he did it. Yeah. So I try to encourage people, whatever it is your goal is, you can do it. You can do anything you did before your injury, your amputation. You might have to do it a little bit differently, but there is no reason why your life should change drastically. I became an actress. That doctor was right. I did find other things that I enjoyed and other things that I happened to be good at. Anything to be in a theater, on stage. I built sets, I painted sets, I was a stage manager. I learned how to use a screw gun. I don't have one now, so don't worry. But I really started to thrive and feel like this was sort of where I was supposed to be, what I was meant to do in this world. And it was really exciting. It was incredibly exciting. This particular picture is in Atlanta in 1996 at the Olympic Games when they were in Atlanta. I was part of a group of kids that sang in the opening ceremonies. And I was standing on that field, 85,000 people in attendance. I have a microphone in my hand and they're asking me to sing. I was 16 years old. And I stood there and realized, you can do anything. You can do anything that you set your mind to. You have to work really hard. And you have to, at that time it was like, you got to practice. But that's really what it comes down to. Set your goals and really fight for them. Go after them. So I continued to be an actress. I went to college in St. Louis, Missouri at Webster University. I loved my school. It was another opportunity, actually, for me to be surrounded by a group of people who didn't necessarily see my circumstance as something negative or wrong. This actual picture down here in the corner is a play called 5th of July, and there is a character that is an amputee in that play, and they did not cast me in that role, which I don't know was a smart idea or not. But it just shows their ability to see beyond and see me being capable of doing more things in my life. I'm actually going back to Webster later this year. They've selected me as the 2011 Young Alumni Award recipient, which is awesome. I didn't even know I was in the running for it. And I got a letter in the mail that it was from Webster, and I thought it was, we've all, get those letters from institutions we've attended, and they say, please, give us money. Yeah. And I almost threw it away. And I opened it, and it said, congratulations, we'd love to honor you in St. Louis. So I'm really excited to go back, and I get to teach a master class with the kids in the acting school, which is really thrilling and exciting for me. I became a professional actor, ultimately. I moved to Chicago, much to my parents' dismay. I don't know if you can tell, but I have a slight southern accent. Anybody? Yes? I grew up in Alabama. My parents moved there so that I would avoid winter. And as soon as I could make decisions for myself, I moved to Chicago. The worst winter in the world. But I really had an incredible time there. I lived there for a few winters, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about acting, about what it is to be an actor, what it is to network, and I learned a whole lot. I did a lot of growing up in Chicago. I have gone back. I got called last year from the casting director at the Goodman, which is a theater in Chicago, and he said, I think you're right for this play that we're doing next season. Philip Seymour Hoffman's directing it. And I was like, awesome, I am there. That sounds incredible. He's like, you're going to be here from January to March. And I was like, so I got really good at taxi, because, but it was a tremendous opportunity, incredible experience, spending 6 weeks with one of the greatest actors, I think, in my opinion, of our time. And he does not take himself very seriously at all. That's him in that corner. We're pretending to eat pizza together. It's our version of sharing a milkshake in our straws. I was in the 3rd season of My Name is Earl. I'm not sure if any of you guys watched that show. His mustache is 100% real, and I had to kiss him, which is okay. But it was funny there because we were coming in for the shot where we were going to do the kissing scene, and Jason comes in, and he's dancing around, and he has this plate of tacos. And he's like, the taco truck is here, the taco truck is here. And the director was like, Jason, you're about to do a kissing scene. And he was like, oh, but I'm so hungry. And then he's the executive producer of the show, so he continued to eat all 3 tacos. As we were sitting into our places, he finished the 3rd one. And he went, how's that? And I was like, awful. And he said, well, you're going to remember today, which I do. And, for better or worse, it's part of my acting experience. I continue to work. We have projects constantly. I sort of compare the entertainment industry to a bowl of spaghetti. You just sort of throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks, see if it's done. But we continue to push ourselves and to try to make ourselves better and to continue to work. It was when I moved here that I started working with a prosthetist, and he suggested maybe try running. And it was not something that I had ever really planned on doing. It was not something that I ever anticipated being a chapter in my life. And it's what's interesting to me is that when this opportunity came up, I sort of will try anything once. I'm down, I'm game. This was one of the first times I wore prosthetic running legs. And in this picture you can see I'm actually wearing pants, and they're rolled up because I literally did not own a pair of shorts. Because I had been practicing the art of blending in for so long that I didn't like to draw attention to myself in that way. And what I realized is that if I was going to go down this path, I had to get to a new level of, I am okay with me. I went through a second adolescence. I really believe I did. I had to sort of really get to, I love myself, and I am okay with who I am. So we did. We started to run. We started to kind of mess around. I entered a track meet, and I signed up for a 60 meter. I don't know if anybody knows much about track. 60 is not a distance. It's not a real distance. It's basically from here to that wall. It's not like a race. It's more like a ruh. And then it's over. But I got there, and it was sort of an all-comer meet. There were everything crazy announcements being made. You have numbers all over yourself. I didn't know what I was doing. I get up to the starting line. It was time for us to start our race, and I looked to my left and I looked to my right at my competitors, and I was standing in the middle of 10-year-olds. And I was like, well, I guess I better win. Which I did, and I don't know, one of those little boogers was really fast, though. I don't know if that makes me a really awesome athlete or just a really bad person for beating children with disabilities in a race. But everyone got medals, so it was okay. But what ended up happening was it was a moment of realization for me that if I really wanted to do this, I was starting on the ground floor. I was really having to, I should have been running with 10-year-olds because that was my experience in this sport. It was at that meet that I really started to focus, and I really started to try to put myself out there, and I met a Paralympic track coach named Coach Cruz. Currently he's the third fastest man in the world. He won the gold in '84. I actually train at the same track because '84 was in LA, the Olympics here, so I train on the same track that he ran on. Which is kind of cool. And he came up to me and he said, how serious about this are you? And I was like, I am not serious at all. And what he really did was encourage me to just give it a try. And I was just like, you know what, it's an opportunity, let's ride it and see where it takes me and see what happens. So I started to compete. Shortly after that, I qualified for the U.S. Paralympic track team. Thank you. What I didn't know at the time, this is a photograph from the Pan Am Games in 2007. I was in a heat, the way the Paralympic view of us. You're paired up with other individuals that have